I wanted to ask you about because again, a lot of our audience are interested in careers in banking specifically, if they follow us. And so, like I mentioned before, you were a tech banker at Lehman during the dot-com boom, and then eventually during the dot-com bust, which I think was in 2000, right? So that was like right in the middle of your 3 years there. What was that like? I guess to be at the center of all of that during that time.
Yeah, I mean, I think like when you're first time going into banking and you don't have anything to compare against, you kind of accept like that's the normal.
Yeah,
I only
it
found
probably
out.
wasn't normal.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a way it was like I kind of went in expecting long hours and a lot of work. I What I didn't realize, the associates and the VPs I talked to, they're the ones that kind of gave some, context to say, no, this is not normal. I think
How many hours were
tenure
you?
there, during my tenure there, I had, well, I think almost 17 or more closed deals, which is apparently, I mean, I think somewhere in my storage, I have a box full of Lucite's, the deals. And that was kind of like the normal when we were going through it. And I think it was the one thing that I do remember clearly was everybody was working on multiple deals
Yeah.
at the same time. So, and not only active deals, but there were on a weekly basis there was a pitch to be prepped. So I used to love, and I mean this sarcastically. Friday afternoon at 3, between 3 and 5, there was always a call to this VP's office because he needed the pitch deck by Monday morning. So that was I mean, it was expected. But I don't know if I should say this. I remember his name was Kyle Ryland. He may be still be in the industry. I mean, I look back and I thought it was funny. I mean, it was kind of like a inside joke with all the analysts who would get called in
Yeah.
to work on the pitch over the weekend. But yeah, I mean, I think the thing that I learned from the bust here is, bankers, it's a very cyclical business. I mean, during times when things, during when if the window is closed for IPOs or financing activities, the environment's not friendly, then you could be in banking, but you're just working on mostly pitches,
Yeah.
where you could be during a cycle where there's a lot of activity and you may be working on a lot of deals. So I think right now, I would say if I look back, probably the last year probably has been somewhat dry,
Yeah.
given the environment. But I think over the next year or two, I think things will pick up. I mean, you think about the IPO windows and people, companies prepping for to go public. Obviously, there'll be more deal flow coming, but and similarly in consulting, that would be the case too. But there's always companies that need to fix things that are broken. So I think it's a more consistent business in the sense that there'll always be projects to be had.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you did 17 deals in 3 years, because I wasn't banking for 3 years. I think I did like from '08. I graduated in '08, which is also not a great market, but
Yeah.
did it through 11. And I think I did like 9 deals, which was, I want to say more than most of my peers that I knew, but 17 is almost double that. But also, the bust happened in 2000. So I would imagine most of the 17 deals you did were in like the
Yeah, I would
uh,
say it was definitely the front part of my career. The back end, I mean, there were still deals flowing through, but I would say those were more legitimate deals that should have happened. The earlier days, some of these companies maybe were not ready to go public or to, yeah. So I would say, yeah, it was definitely front loaded. After banking, I found myself looking back and I'm like, oh, I felt lucky that I got the chance to go through it. Probably one of the most intense time and periods. So
yeah. I
I was
mean,
feeling lucky to escape.
well, you must have learned a ton doing that. But I was also going to ask, like, when the bust happened, what was the atmosphere like in the office? Like, were people worried for their jobs? Were you worried for your job? Did people actually end up losing their jobs, or like,
Yeah, I mean, I left before like any significant layoffs were happening. Advice I got at the time was, hey, go get your MBA, come back as an associate. But by the time I was leaving, I had made decision that this is not, I wasn't on an MD track and I did not want to do that work for the rest of my career. So I think that's when I started looking at other options, like, okay, how can I now leverage what I've learned? Now, my initial tenure at a small consulting firm called Mars and Co. I mean, they still exist today, but they're still a small firm. I didn't get my full dose of management consulting, so that's why I went back to Booz, which was a bigger firm, a lot more international projects. So in a way, I kind of kicked a more hard decision down the road. I'm like, okay, I did banking. I'm gonna do a little bit more consulting, and that's kind of like the path I took. I definitely did not see the layoffs. I think 2008 is probably when you saw the massive layoffs. Obviously, Lehman imploded. A lot of people that I've known that were either associates or for VPs and even MDs, they got displaced when the firm disappeared, and a lot of them ended up at Barclays and other firms. But yeah, it was pretty sad to see a good chunk of my career. The company no longer exists.